Welcome back, everybody, to Desktop Inventions. So last time we built the 3 spiritual stones from the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And while those stones look awesome and magnificent, they looked a little bit lonely sitting by themselves on the table. So today we're going to finish out the project and we're going to build an altar for them, an exact replica from the Temple of Time, and it's going to be awesome. So we've got a lot to get through, so let's dive right in. So if you remember from last time, we have these electromagnetic assemblies that actually make the spiritual stones float, and sometimes crash, but mostly float. So the first order of business, we have to figure out how we're going to mount these so that we can design and build a base for them to mount into. So I went through way too many iterations to get this base mounting figured out. Nothing was symmetric and it took a few prints and reprints, but I got it figured out. So with that, I had proven out the base design and the mounting. So now I'm ready to scale up. And I've got the actual base design here. So it's a very large design that I split up into 3 pieces, and I embedded some dowel pins that are going to hold them together. And I've got the base that's going to mount in here, some wire routing. So let's get those 3 pieces assembled and see how they look. So we've got our 3 bases here, and we're going to start out pretty simple by getting these electromagnetic pieces screwed into place. Next up, I'll be installing these dowel pins. I use some stainless steel ones that I had lying around, but you can use 3D printed ones. They work just as well. Now we'll get these 3 pieces flipped over, and finally we're going to get these pressed together, and it'll be super satisfying. Now let's get some wiring connected and a couple covers on here, and let's test this bad boy out. I'm super relieved to see all these rotating super smoothly and not interfering with each other. That was one of my concerns with this base design. But not all is well here. We've got Safety Inspector Link, who is not impressed with all of our loose wires hanging around, so we're going to have to get those cleaned up. Okay, with the current base here, we have 3 different magnetic levitating bases that have 3 power cords that go back to 3 power supplies. So not super ideal, so we're going to do some testing and see if we can reduce this from at least 3 to 2 and maybe from 3 to 1. So these AC/DC power supply adapters are rated for 12 volts at 2 amps, which is about 24 watts. So now I've got one of them connected and spinning, and I've got the power meter on it, and it's only just over 1 watt. But let's take a look at when I put it out of balance, when it's trying to balance itself. I think the wattage goes up quite a bit, up to 30 watts. So there might be some risk having 2 of them trying to balance at the same time. But once I let go here and let it become equalized, that power drops down significantly, just 5 watts. So maybe we can try putting 2 onto 1 power adapter and see what happens. All right, so I've got 2 of the bases soldered into 1 connector here. So we're going to get 2 stones and we're going to do a test and see if this works. So here we go. First, let's do 1 stone. Second stone. There we go. So it is working. Got 8 watts. Okay, so if I push it down on the stone, it takes more wattage. So I'm going to push down on both of them together and see what happens. 50 watts. Wow. And it just came loose. I think this was not a power supply problem, but just me letting these stones slip out of the middle point. Power supply is not hot. Put these back again. Yeah, seems to be working and stable. Not too much power draw on these. And once they stop shaking, it seems like the power goes down as well. Just 8 watts for these 2. So I'm thinking we can fit all 3 onto 1 power connector. That would be great. Okay, so we have all 3 soldered up into 1 connector now and going into 1 power plug. So let's see if it works. All right, they're all working now and it's pulling just over 6 watts. So really not a lot of power with these 3 floating. So here I'm going to load 2 of the bases pretty aggressively and see if the 3rd one cuts out at all. And there we have it, no issues. So we're going to share all 3 of these to 1 power supply. So here's the fancy harness I made to get all 3 of these connected together. So let's get this slapped together and assembled. From here on out, it should be pretty smooth and easy, just plug and play. But we are not finished there. Let's get to the rear plaque assembly, which is going to help tie this whole thing together. So again, these pieces were super large, so I had to split it up into 3, and we're going to use dowel pins to assemble these together as well. And if you'll notice here, I did my best to draw the music table on the front, and I've got some through holes here that we're going to use magnets to attach the notes for the Song of Time. So I did get magnets pressed into the back of this plaque. You can tell by the way this screw is sticking in place there. Okay, ran out of stainless steel dowel pins, so this time we're using 3D printed dowel pins, and I'm going to get those pressed into place and get these 3 plaques put together. And there we have it, the rear plaque is assembled and it looks great. Okay, so here's a little rear cover I made and a smaller harness just to make the assembly a little more easy and modular. So if any of these wires has an issue, I can easily take this apart and replace one piece at a time. And in case I want to make any future changes, like using 2 power inputs instead of 1, I can simply reprint this little plate instead of reprinting these much larger pieces. And finally, let's connect the rear plaque to the bottom base and tie this whole design together. So I also printed out some bottom covers to just clean up the bottom and cover up all these exposed wires, so that makes the whole project look a lot nicer. So that is the final demo here of the full altar working, and since this is such a cool project, I'll go over a few of the cool details with you here. So for these levitating objects, they do not rotate by themselves, so it's a bit of a fun challenge to get them to spin with your hand, and as you get them to spin with your hand, they tend to wobble and get out of balance, so that is a tricky game for each of these in their unique shapes, how to get them spinning and spinning the right speed and without wobbling. Another fun detail I made with this project was separating the C button and A button notes, so they are magnetically attached to the altar here. So for whatever reason, if I get bored of the Song of Time, I've loaded different buttons in there that I can magnetically change out to a different song if I ever want to. One future upgrade I could do to this project is add a button and a speaker, so when you press the button, it would play the Song of Time, and possibly some LED lights to light up the notes as the song is playing. Okay everyone, that's going to wrap up the video with creating these spiritual stones from the Ocarina of Time. Thank you everyone that's watched it this far into the video for supporting the video and the project. If you do want to make this by yourself at home, I am going to add the files for the altar and the base here on my Patreon account. So if you'd like to make this project yourself, go subscribe and follow me on Patreon. So that's where I'm going to end the video. I hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll see you next time at Desktop Inventions.